Our planet has existed for billions of years, and during all this time, it has managed to change more than once. With the advent of modern technology, scientists are conducting a lot of research in order to accurately describe the true history of the development of the Earth and humanity. Archaeologists continue to amaze us with their discoveries, and this will continue for many years to come. Hi friend, you are on the Curtop channel. Bracelet from the future. Back in 2008, in the Altai territory, archaeologists discovered an unusual artifact which was later nicknamed a bracelet from the future. The find is made of perfectly polished stone, the exact age of which was determined only a few years ago. It is about 50,000 years old. The mystery of a mysterious object is that the technology of its creation is completely different from those that humanity uses now, and in some way even surpasses them. And judging by the age of the bracelet, it was created long before the appearance of intelligent mankind. This casts doubt on the entire theory of evolution, and some researchers believe that previously a highly developed civilization lived on the territory of Russia, which could create such incredible objects. However, scientists also question this explanation. Sword with mystical signs. More than half of the hilts of Viking swords known in Norway were decorated with precious metals, but only the sword from Langeid is decorated with the mystical signs inlaid with gold. The tomb on a pagan pre-Christian burial was marked with a roof supported by 4 pillars. Therefore, archaeologists from the Museum of Cultural History in Oslo assumed that interesting discoveries awaited them. However, the findings exceeded all their expectations. On the outside of the coffin lay a sword and a large battle axe. The sword is 91 cm long, with the tip broken off. The type of sword is not represented in Jan Petersen's classification, but similar swords are known in Norway, Denmark, Finland, and the Baltic region. The handle was wrapped in an alternating twisted and straight silver thread. The handle of the Langeid sword is only 6.5 cm long and only holds 3 fingers. This impractical feature required the wearer to have a certain habit of using the sword in combat. The unique sword from Langeid is made by the symbols located on its hilt. The inscription and decoration of the handle are made of thin threads of silver, copper, and gold. Gold wire inlays form the center line of each symbol. The gold is framed with black copper wire. There were inscriptions on both sides of the sword blade. It was possible to see them thanks to the research using X-rays. Scientists in Norway suggest that the sword belonged to one of the noble warriors who participated in the attacks on England along with the army of King Canute. Ceremonial chariot. Italian archaeologists are jubilant. An almost perfectly preserved 4-wheeled cart made of iron, bronze, and tin was found near the stables of an ancient villa in Civita Juliana, about 700 meters north of the walls of ancient Pompeii. The cart dates back to the 1st century AD, and as such ornate carriages were used by the nobility for weddings, ceremonies, and processions on religious holidays, for example in honor of Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, or Ceres, the goddess of fertility. The curved rear of the open-top chariot is room for passengers, while the front is room for a chariot driving 2 horses. The found specimen is unique in that it's very well preserved. Under a layer of ash, all decorative elements remain practically intact. These ceremonial chariots were called the pilentum. On the side, above the wheels, there are decorative elements on erotic themes. Previously, archaeologists in Pompeii had already found vehicles, but these were mostly carts used for transport and work, not for ceremonies. It was found on the porch in front of the stable, where the remains of 3 horses, including a harnessed horse, were found in 2018. Life on another planet. Astrobiologists conducted a study of a part of a meteorite that fell on Earth on the territory of the state of Sri Lanka in 2012 and found traces of fossils in its structure, suspiciously resembling algae and other biological living creatures. According to scientists, such a find may well serve as a basis for the hypothesis of the existence of life on other planets and in the universe as a whole, and that they can move from one place to another using space objects. The analysis was carried out on more than 600 samples, but only in 3 of them the formation of extraterrestrial life was not in doubt, since they were located inside the stone, outside the so-called melting crust formed when crossing the atmosphere. The only correct justification for the find has not yet been identified, but many are more inclined to believe that the infection has already occurred on the surface of the Earth, since similar fossils exist on our planet, in particular in fresh water. The emergence of China and its technology. According to the assurances of Chinese scientists, their civilization is at least 5,000 years old. Despite the fact that the PRC has a rather closed policy in terms of archaeology, you can find a huge amount of evidence of high-tech construction and stone processing, such as the Great Wall of China, Longyu grottos, and a huge number of pyramids. But why does China not allow archaeologists around the world to study these finds in more detail? Of course, the answer lies in the findings themselves and the attitude of the Chinese government in this regard. To begin with, the Chinese have led the close life of the state since ancient times. Even when trade routes by sea were established, the Chinese were happy to sell their goods, but they were in no hurry to buy something from the Europeans, as they arrogantly believed that everyone except themselves were barbarians who are far from the technologies of Great China. This in part became the reason for the Opium War between China and Britain, in which they lost in disgrace, and are very reluctant to recall this story. At the moment, Chinese schools are most likely missing this period of time. Not only the scale of the construction of the Great Wall of China is surprising, but also the absolute uselessness as a defensive barrier. Its length is too great, and in order to maintain the full defensive capacity of the structure, an enormous number of people would be required constantly on posts. The location of the loopholes is also a mystery. The fact is that in some places loopholes are made not to the north, but to the south, but sometimes they are made on both sides. There are about 40 known pyramids in China, but not all of them are easily distinguishable by the human eye. They are covered with trees and grass, and many of them date back to 8000 AD. There is an assumption that as soon as the world became aware of the existence of these pyramids, the Chinese government urgently gave an order to cover each building with a layer of earth and plant vegetation. Now each pyramid looks more like a mound, which in fact is reported by China itself. 2 identical Roman sarcophaguses. Archaeologists who arrived at the site of the find found that the sarcophaguses, whose age is estimated at approximately 1,800 years, were rediscovered. Zoo employees discovered them about 25 years ago and moved them to another place, where the monuments of antiquity soon disappeared under the sand and dense vegetation and were forgotten. They were found again during construction work in the park and were finally handed over to the scientists. Remains of buildings and ceramics of the Roman era have been repeatedly found on the Tel Bene Barak Hill and in Ramagang, but archaeologists have not yet been able to find traces of burials and objects related to funerary practices. Meanwhile, such finds can tell a lot about the ethnic and social composition of the local population, its cultural and religious traditions. An important discovery for scientists was made by chance, thanks to the construction of a new veterinary complex in a landscape zoo. During the excavation work, one of the employees of the zoological center drew attention to the stone objects that appeared from under the ground. They were reported to the Israel Antiquities Authority, and archaeologists Uzi Rothstein and Alan Klein arrived at the site. Inspection showed that the discovered objects are 2 identical stone sarcophaguses, 2 meters long and about half a meter wide, decorated with carved relief images. By the nature of decor, scientists have determined the approximate time of making sarcophaguses, the 2nd to 3rd centuries AD. On the walls of the sarcophaguses, repeating motifs and carved from symbolic figures in the form of discs and flower garlands, symbolizing the cycle of life and death. The Israeli finds are made from local rocks, but imitate the prestigious and expensive white marble sarcophaguses from the island of Prokon's. Burials of this level were arranged not in earthen graves, but in tombs, but no traces of the existence of such a tomb have yet been found. Cannon carriage of the time of the Cossacks. In Zaporozhye in November, a unique hydroarchaeological find was presented, which was found at the bottom of the river. Dnieper is an oak carriage. Preliminary, the dating of the gun carriage is the last quarter of the 17th century, the beginning of the 18th century. A large caliber cannon, which was used to storm cities, fortresses, fortifications of that time. Caliber 24-32 pounds. This is a field gun. The gun had an extraordinary artillery value. The carriage itself is made of oak and bound with iron. There are remnants of red paint. It is a pan-European design, but where exactly it was made is not known yet. Cannons of this size fired at a distance of up to 7 kilometers. The find was located at a depth of 9.8 meters just below Khortytsa. Archaeologists said that the carriage is about 4.5 meters long and about 2.3 meters wide. The weight is more than 1.2 tons. Such finds are not known within Ukraine. Units of similar carriages are kept in some museums around the world. Granodiorite stele. This black stele of granodiorite, 1 meter 99 centimeters high, was discovered in 2000 by underwater archaeologist Frank Gaudio during excavations of the ancient city of Thonis Heraklion. The stele dates back to 380 BC. It bears the decree of Nectanebo I, the first pharaoh of the Xerxes dynasty. Under the Sates, Persians, and the less three local dynasties, Heraklion was a border and customs post, as well as a place from where Greek products were transported to Nefkratis, an ancient Greek colony on the Nile. The stele proves that Thonis and Heraklion are one and the same city. In the last two of the 14 columns of the decree of the stele, Pharaoh orders that this stele was installed at the entrance to the Sea of the Greeks in a city named Thonis. Indeed, the discovery of this monument on the site of the Temple of Heraklion allowed us to find out the name of the city that sank to the bottom of the ocean, that is Thonis, and the place where it was installed, provided evidence that Thonis and Heraklion were respectively Egyptian and Greek, the name of the city. In order not to miss the release of a new video and support our channel, I recommend subscribing and clicking on the bell. Thanks for your views, bye everyone!